All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, LCAO. How's everybody? Good, 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 good. All right. Let's jump into it. We are going to have no preamble today because had a look at the chapter we're going into this morning. And it's not a short one. So I don't know if we'll get through all of this. I like to keep the reading to about 20 minutes. The idea is if you could just spend 20 minutes in a book each day that has you think differently, okay? Challenge yourself to think outside of your habitual way of thinking, magic happens. So let's jump right into this. How many of you are enjoying the story so far? I mean, we haven't even really started. There's a lot of, he wants context so you understand the man he is, who he grew up inspired by, and some of the things that he had to go through. But I already know what's coming, so buckle up. Are you guys ready? You ready? All right. We are on chapter 6, Baxley. B-A-X-L-E-Y, Baxley. In 1966, near the end of my second year at Thomasville, I began applying for every head football coaching position I could find in Georgia. More than anything, I wanted to be the head coach, not an assistant. Everything in my background prepared me for that position. My coaching experience stretched back to the 5th grade. I was ready, but convincing a school to hire me? Even high schools look for experienced guys, usually with 10 or more years as a head coach. Then the break came. The head football coach position opened at Appling County High School in Baxley, Georgia, a town of about 12,000 people. I think Baxley offered me that job because my Cairo football coach, Wes Thomas, coached winning teams at Baxley 20 years earlier. Baxley's current teams were not exactly what you call winning. In fact, they had won just one game in 2 years and hadn't seen a winning season since Coach Thomas. They could afford to take a chance on me. What did they have to lose? Before signing the contract, I went to see Charles McDaniel, the superintendent of Thomas County Schools, where I currently coached at Thomasville. What he told me almost made my teeth fall out. Coach Summerall might be leaving. Mr. McDaniel knew I had been looking for a head coach position, and he wanted to offer me the job if Coach Summerall left. I was flattered beyond belief. Thomasville, one of the best football schools in the state of Georgia, had everything. Winning tradition, great players, total community support, an established program. You were practically guaranteed to win 9 or 10 games a season. Head coach in Thomasville? A dream come true. The best of all worlds. I went to see Coach Summerall. I told him about my situation and the conversation with Mr. McDaniel. He confided that he had considered a coaching position in Mississippi, but decided not to take it. He would stay in Thomasville. So with Coach Summerall securely in his position at Thomasville, I accepted my first head coaching job at Baxley. Spring. Our new community tested Angela and me at first. We had felt so at home in Thomasville, and Baxley was all new. But with our usual enthusiasm, we poured our energy into fixing up our first home and getting involved at school. We felt rich, financially too. My salary took a big jump to $6,300. As the new football coach, I knew my first job to rally the community around my cause. I set out to visit all the social clubs in town, introduce myself, explain my philosophy for a winning football team. At school, I told students that the Appling County Pirates were done losing. Count on it. I said, our football team is going to be great. My PR campaign worked. The whole town buzzed about football, and 75 boys came out for spring practice. I was so excited. With my Cairo Thomasville football heritage, I started right in with tough practices. What a shock. I expected the boys to need a lot of work, but these players knew almost nothing about football. After 2 weeks of practice, my 2 experienced quarterbacks quit. The team withered down to a mere 19 players, and a couple of these had never played football before. What a mess! In the middle of this ordeal, an interesting bit of news came my way. Coach Summerall had decided to leave Thomasville after all. He'd accepted the head coach position at Warner Robins High School in Warner Robins, Georgia. I felt sick. Here was my dream job, suddenly available, and I couldn't take it. I was already under contract at Baxley, and I'd made a personal commitment to my 19 players. I couldn't leave. Lou Miller, Baxley defensive coach, says, "The fact that Art stayed in Baxley shows a lot about his character. He was offered the Thomasville job after he took the position at Baxley. Most people would have gone back on their promise and taken the Thomasville job. It was one of the best football coaching jobs in Georgia. But he had made the commitment to Baxley, and he stayed." Brushing it off, I set up a scrimmage game against last year's seniors, the team that won just one game in 2 years. The whole town showed up on a spring Friday night to watch. The boys on the other team, the old seniors, straggled in minutes before game time. I handed out their pads, realizing they didn't have a coach and hadn't bothered to practice. Well, this ought to be interesting, I thought. I expected to beat them 100-0. Boy, was I wrong. We lost. And I mean, we lost bad. After 4 weeks of grueling practice, a bunch of guys who could have cared less just totally put us to shame. Watching that ragtag team slink off the field, I saw my whole coaching career go up in flames. That weekend, I sunk to a new low. I moped. I cried. I pouted. I second-guessed every part of my decision to leave Thomasville and come to Baxley. Back in Thomasville, I would have been coaching one of the best football teams in Georgia. Instead, I was stuck in Baxley, the same tough league as Thomasville, with no players, no program, no traditions. I didn't see any way in the world to win. Turning point. It called for a hard personal decision. I could drag into school looking the way I felt, defeated and depressed, or I could leave the lesson Mother taught me and act happy anyway. I thought about Coach Taylor too. What would he do? Well, that made it easy. Monday morning came. I marched into the principal's office, grabbed the PA microphone, and called the football players down to the locker room. All 19 of them, battered and bruised. I looked at those boys, heads down, staring at the floor. They had been humiliated in front of the whole town, beaten by last year's losers. I knew I sat on a power keg, and my attitude could either set off an explosion or power us to a whole new level. It was up to me. I don't know what these boys expected me to say, but I gave it to them straight. Fellas, I want to tell you something. When I came to Baxley, I told you I was a stud, and we were going to do something big and special with this team. You all came out here and believed me. We started with 75. Now we have 19. Before last Friday night, 3 groups of people thought we were going to win. Us, the school, and the town. Only one group thinks we're going to win now, and that's us. The school doesn't think we can do it. The town thinks we're going to be a joke around here, just like always. But I can flat tell you this. I ain't nothing but a double stud, and we're going to win. As good as I thought the opportunity was 4 weeks ago, it's 10 times better today, because nobody expects us to win. But we're going to win. There's no doubt in my mind. And we're going to look like heroes to everybody. When I stopped talking, those boys weren't looking at the floor anymore. They stared at me, the light back in their eyes. They saw I was serious. I believed what I was saying. That moment was a turning point in my life and theirs. We chose to face the first test with strength instead of defeat. It made all the difference. Nothing had changed from Friday night to Monday morning. Nothing. But our perspective. That word perspective. We talk a lot about that one at LCAO. Change your perspective. It's based on your current beliefs, which come from your past experiences. I still had a mountain to climb, but now I had something to fight for. My promise to those boys that we would win. In Thomasville, I probably would have coached that team to the state championship. Thomasville had been a winning team for 40 years. But in truth, I would have just been carrying on someone else's tradition. Just executing a long-established program. At Baxley, I had an opportunity. I could build a program from scratch. I could create the traditions myself. I could teach those boys, all 19 of them, how to play real football. I had a chance to really make a difference. Summer. From that day on, I did everything I could to give those kids a little pride. I brought in weights, something they'd never had, and started them on a summer weightlifting program. I painted the locker room and hung up motivational signs like, the difference between champ and chump is you. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. I got permission from the school to buy new uniforms and rent an air-conditioned Greyhound bus for our away games, another first. I wanted those kids to know they were somebody, a team worth fighting for. So we're going to put a plug in it right there. We'll see you tomorrow.